What's up, kids? You know, we're getting awfully close to summertime here in America, but some countries have already started. So I'm going to start with my kiddos over in Italy. Now, I want you kids to know that I think it's super important for you guys to keep learning throughout the summertime and not just turn your brains off. So I want to offer an opportunity for you guys to be able to ask me questions, and I'll get on here and answer. That way kids all over the world can be able to hear what you have to ask and also hear my answer. So I wanted to start with a really great question from, I believe this one was from Giovani. Asked, why do you want to save the oceans, Captain Planet? And why do I want to save the oceans is as simple as why I love to breathe. You know, we've always known to be able to thank every single one of these plants around me for our fresh breath of air. Excuse me, it's been a long day. But we've always known to thank all these plants, right? But we didn't realize to be thanking the ocean even more so. The ocean produces 70% of the oxygen that we breathe. So just the oxygen alone, to me, is worth saving the planet. Now, also, I believe that saving the ocean is a valuable way to fight climate change as well, through something that I call blue carbon. Now, it's something that we talked about when I was on the video with you guys over in Italy. We talked about different ways that we can save the planet, but we talked about that blue carbon, the seagrass, and we compared seagrass and mangrove restorations to that of rainforest restorations. And we're finding that it takes less time to store carbon using blue carbon techniques like restoring seagrass beds than it does restoring rainforests. Not that it isn't important to restore the rainforest. However, if we're fighting climate change and trying to make the most impact as fast as we can, because believe it or not, the last summit, scientists have given a 5% probability that planet Earth will not increase 2 degrees. You know, it's a 95% chance that it will increase 2 degrees or more. You know, so we need to be doing everything that we possibly can. And I think that saving the ocean is vital for climate change as well. It's just vital for planet Earth. It's a blue planet. No water, no life. No blue, no green. You know, so it also contains all those fish that we eat. It controls the Earth's climate and its weather. That rain that falls on your crops in Italy comes from the ocean. And one day that water returns to the ocean. It's a sacred circle. Now the next question, I want to pronounce it maybe Georgia, but maybe over there you guys just pronounce it Georgia. It was spelled way different than what we spell it over here because it was spelled with an I, so it may just be an Italian spelling. But Georgia wanted to know, what will happen if coral reefs die? And this one will be the last question because we'll just make these short videos, that way people can watch them a little bit easier. Now, what will happen if coral reefs die? Well, coral reefs are 25% of the ocean species. So if coral reefs die, that means a quarter of the ocean's species will die. And you cannot take a quarter out of a circle and still have a circle left. If we want to eat tuna, for example, then tuna has to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it was either first-hand or second-hand born on that reef. So think about that just within the marine life, for example. Now, let alone that 70% oxygen that I was talking about. You know, a lot of that exists because of coral reefs. You know, if coral reefs didn't exist, which they produce some of that oxygen as well, but coral reefs didn't exist, you wouldn't have all those aquatic plants in that area, for example, growing or producing all this oxygen. Now, not only that, but coral reefs actually store approximately 1/3 of Earth's carbon. That's that bad C word that we're always talking about when it comes to climate change, guys. Now, if we don't want carbon to be in that atmosphere, and we're allowing carbon to just break down 1/3 of Earth's carbon, that will just multiply everything exponentially, guys. So what will happen if coral reefs die? We will begin to die with it. Save the corals and you save yourselves. If you save the coral reefs, you save humanity, as well as a lot of other species. In fact, coral reefs, corals as well as cephalopods like cuttlefish and octopus and squid, for example, corals and cuttlefish have been around the longest. They've been around for about 550 million years, and they're the only creatures that are still around, that have been around that long ago, back before the dinosaurs were even here. Now that's just amazingly awesome to think of, but think about it. Coral reefs make the whole world go round. The ocean is the Earth's backbone, and the coral reefs is the ocean's backbone. So you could think of coral reefs as like the spinal cord of planet Earth. It just has to happen. It has to exist. That's why I believe that doing every single thing that we can to plant coral reefs, as well as even help imitate coral reefs. You know, me and a company called Ocean Habitats, we work closely together, supplying people with mini reefs. So we put these in our canals to help clean the water out. And it's basically an artificial way of imitating mangrove prop roots. But a mini reef just sounded cooler than a mini mangrove prop root system. But every little thing that we can do to help. Think about this, guys. When corals spawn, they only do it once a year. And often enough, it's 2 hours after the sun sets, after the second day of the first full moon in August. And even then, they only have a 1 in 1 million chance of making a baby. Every 50 to 100 years. So if half of our reef has died here in Florida, which is the 3rd largest reef in the entire world, then that means that I need to be out planting those reefs as much as I can and be talking to you guys about how important it is to be farming our corals, studying our corals, using the right genomes, planting the corals that we think are going to survive in the oceans that we're predicting 25, 50 years from now. Warmer, more acidic oceans. You know, those corals that we plant, we're having a very, very good success rate. We don't go plant the kind of corals that we know would die, for example. So maybe that's something that we'll talk about in our next video, because I think it was Leonardo that asked about some particular coral biology, and that's a really, really cool subject. I hope that answered the questions pretty good, guys, but I think I have just about 50 more from Italy alone. So let me know where you guys are, and maybe talk to your teachers before you guys get out of school here in America. And I know they're doing that at 3 Oaks Elementary, where I was at today, and they're going to be writing up some questions. That way I'll have plenty of time throughout the summer to answer everybody's questions. And keep learning, guys. Remember, just like Albert Einstein said, education is not the memorizing of facts, but the ability to learn. And I think I butchered that, but it kind of makes sense. But think about it, guys. Just like math, you know, it's when we stop doing our multiplication cards and all through summer, and then you barely can't remember it anymore. I still can't tell you what 6 times 4 is. I can barely say what the months of the year in order are, but I'm one of those guys that firmly believe in staying in your lane. You know, so just find out what you're good at in life, kids, and get better at it. See ya.